So guys, we have discussed about the environment variables. Now we will talk about the parameters. Okay, the query parameters and path parameters in URL or endpoint, you can call them. Okay, then we will talk about HTTP response assertion and how to run a Postman connection. Fine. Now we have discussed about variables, right? Variable as a full name, right? And that variable can be common in different environments. Fine. That is dev environment, Q environment, prod. Variables can be passed as per the environment in Postman, right? But what is the major use of these variables in parameters? Okay. So now let's do this Google. Very easy, right? Somebody asked me, what is an API endpoint? Fine. So basically, guys, the endpoint contains the host, the endpoint contains the path, the endpoint contains the parameters. Okay. What is the difference between URL and URI? The URL is a subset of URI. Okay. So let's go to some random website and let's have, because everything many people just write some blogs like this. Okay, so to make an API request, you guys can just think of like you need an endpoint, right? So the base URL is this, right? So if I say reqres, so this is the base URL. Fine. This is the base URL. This is the path of the API. Okay, so you guys can just read it. So this is the path. Okay, um, and then basically you can provide some parameters also. So endpoint is something that look like this. Okay, and you can also consider, so in the context of APIs, the support and about pages of a website are like an APIs endpoints, like I mentioned sometime before that. Okay, sometime back I mentioned that only this part is considered as the endpoint, but if somebody is asking you to provide complete endpoint with the base URL also, so this is your base URL. Okay, just for example. Fine. So now let's go to Postman. So what is parameter then? Parameter is basically some value that you are passing to the server through the request URL. Okay, so this is your complete request URL, and you are passing the user ID to the server, right? So that server will return the data related to this user ID too. Okay, so this is called as path parameter. Okay, this is path parameter. And what is query parameter then? So path parameter is something that a value is being directly sent after the forward slash. Now query parameter looks like this. Query means a question, right? And wherever you see this question mark, after the question mark, there is a page equals to 2. So page becomes query parameter, and here 2 becomes the path parameter, that is user ID. Now user ID is not written here, but why I am saying that this 2 is a user ID. So guys, somebody asked yesterday that the documentation of the API. So Swagger document, if you find some Swagger document, so we can say swagger.io. So this is some website that is actually some parent website of Swagger, right? So Swagger is basically simplify API development for users, teams, enterprises, and Swagger basically is a documentation for the APIs that developers write. Okay, and if the code is properly written, then Swagger documentation automatically gets generated. Okay, Swagger example. Let's try to search one example. Hmm. So yeah, oh, I got it. So very good example for Swagger. So you guys can see this is how APIs are documented. Okay. So this is a pet store .swagger.io. This is a example Swagger documentation for APIs. So you guys see this is the path parameter. Okay, pet ID. And let's find some query parameter here. So if not, then we have already so I'll show you this path parameter first. So if you see, this is the pet ID, right? So pet ID is required here. Fine, and API key is also required. So we will say get. I think for get API, we don't need the key. So I will say try it out. So in a Swagger documentation, you will also have this try out option. Okay. So I have clicked on that and I will select some value variable. So here you can see find by status available. Okay. I will also inspect this. Let's inspect this so that we can track what request is going to the server. Okay. So I will click on this execute button now and I will go to the network log. Fine. So guys, you can see that what is the request sent to the server. Okay, I'll zoom out a little bit. So the request sent to the server is find by status question mark status equals to available. So where did we selected available in the Swagger documentation? Here, right? Available. It's a free Swagger documentation available for some pet store APIs by swagger.io. Okay. And the parameter that we have selected is available and the API is find the pets by status. So the pets which are having status available in the database, there is some database remotely available. In that database, there is some entry for the pets and the entries which are having a column with value status. Okay, status must be the column name and available is the value. Okay, so API request was sent to the server like this with a query parameter. Okay, I can also get this from here, copy, go to Postman, go to a new request. Fine, I will paste this request here. So what is my query parameter here? Status is my query parameter, which comes after the question mark. Okay, in Postman, you can press Control and plus to zoom in. Okay, now the Postman might be looking bigger than earlier. Okay, I can press Control minus also so that it zooms out. Okay, so basically this is the status which is query parameter. Okay, query parameters come after question mark. Now I will make this request. It's a free API, so you can use this. Okay, we have got a successful response. You can see the name doggy3 with ID, available status, right? Every every record that is having status equals to available is returned here. You guys can see this status available, right? Now doggy name is there, status available. Okay, every record in the database which is having status equals to available is returned in this API response. Now a very good interview question, I'll tell you, what is an API? API is reflection of database. Okay, so basically very simply, now what is this? A server. What is database here? This is database DB. Fine, database will have some tables. I'm talking about relational database. Okay, RDBMS tables will be there. So let's say we have pets table. Okay, pets table will contain some records. Okay, so records will have some columns. Okay, so one of the column name is status. So in the pets table, there is a column name called as status, which we are passing here is a query parameter, and the value in that particular column, that is status column in the pets table, having the value available, all the records which are having status column value available are returned in this API response. Okay, so the basic thing is query parameter is status, and path parameter here is the let me show you again. Yeah, this is the path parameter, that is 2. Okay, this is my path parameter, and I will show you some more examples here in the pet store Swagger documentation. So yeah, this is the path parameter, pet ID. Okay, you want to upload some image, you can try this out, but let's not do that here. I will try to take a very simple example. Yeah, get pet by ID. So you see, this is the path parameter. So in this Swagger documentation, you guys will be able to find, this will be provided to you by your developer if the standards are being followed. Okay, so get pet data by pet ID. So you guys now understand, here the request which will go to the server will only contain the ID, that is the numeric ID. So I will say pet ID, right? This is my path parameter. I will try this out. This is the try out button. Click here. Now, okay, successful operation. Execute. Okay, fine. Pet ID, I will provide it now. So I will say 2. Execute it. Okay, click on execute button. Oh, I missed to inspect this. Let me inspect. So what were the pet IDs returned? We will take one of them. Okay. So this was the new request. So we will give a name, that is pet store API. Right. Now I will save this. Now what is the ID? This is the ID, one of the ID, right? So we will take this ID and we will paste this ID here. Okay. I will go to network tab. I will execute this request through the Swagger directly. Okay. I have pressed the, yeah, you see, now the request was sent. What is this ID? 922-33720-36854, and at the end it is ending with 193. Okay, 922-33720-36854-256-193. Okay, so same ID is sent in this request URI. Okay, basically request URL, and you can understand this, right? Now this parameter that is present in this API endpoint, pet/pet ID, it is not sent here. Pet ID is just a parameter name. The value is this. Fine, this is the value. So you guys now clearly understand what is path parameter. Path parameter directly comes after the /, and query parameter comes like this after the question mark. Okay, and I'll show you the difference, how you can observe and how can differentiate in the Swagger documentation. So path parameter looks like this. Fine. How does a query parameter looks like? So query parameter will look like this. Okay, this is the find by status. Okay. Okay, I think this is logged or what? Yeah, now it's open. So status, right? String status, and you will have options available. So it is written query here. Okay. So query means a query parameter. Fine. Find by status. And after this pet / find by status, there will be a question mark. Okay. So I can show you here. So there is a find by status question mark and status equals to available. So status, this parameter name status. Okay. It is here. Fine. In the Swagger documentation, value is available, pending. So these are 3 values. Fine. So this was about query parameters and path parameters. Let's talk about running the Postman collection by just pressing one button. Okay, so we have how many requests in this Postman collection? Okay, one is get users, get user. So these many. Okay, before this, I will also teach you about how to apply assertion so that we can clearly see uh, how a response assertion is applied. Okay, so there is a test here. Okay, you have already discussed about status code assertion. I will add still here. Okay, so how to add these assertions? I will remove all the tests. So you have this get api, very simple get api, right? Where this is the host name, this is the endpoint, and this is the path parameter, and this is a get user api where the user id is 2. Fine. We will first apply the assertions and then run the Postman collection directly. Okay. So how to apply assertions? What is an assertion? It's a test. How to apply assertions on the response? We will see that. Basically, what we are doing, we are trying to achieve test automation, right? So you don't need to go always to the response and look at the response manually. Sorry, my bad, something got clicked. Fine, so this is the response from the api. Fine. Manually, every time what you are doing is basically going to this response that is coming from the server and checking whether for user id 2 the data returned is janet.weaver or not. Fine, every time you have to do this. Then what is the automation that you can add here? You can apply a test by writing some simple script. So snippets are already present here. You see, when I click on this tests, you have these snippets, right? So I will little bit take this down, and you see these snippets are already available. So one basic snippet about a API call is to apply a assertion related to status code. So I'm just scrolling these snippets. Okay, one assertion that is related to status code, you will be able to see here. Okay, so response assertion. Slowly I will scroll up. Yeah. Okay, so response status is 200. So when I click on this snippet, status code is 200, then I get this script directly present in the test. Okay, I will save this. Fine. I want to check that the status code is 200. So PM is the object of Postman. PM.test. I want to test that status code is 200. I can give anything here. I can write the status code. So I can change this descriptor. This is my test name. Okay. This description here is a test name. The function, basically the action that I want to perform, will come inside this function. Okay. And in between these curly braces. Okay. So again, I'm saying PM postman dot response that I have received to have response to have status 200. Okay. So we will make this 400 also to check that when the response 200 is returned, but we are expecting that it should be 400, then the test should fail. Okay, that check we will add. Now I want to check also that email should contain janet.weaver@reqres.in. Okay, so I will copy this value. Fine. Now how to add this assertion? Very simple. You already have these snippets. Okay, I will just slowly scroll down. Okay, so response body contains string. So guys, wherever is your cursor, keep it at the end. Okay, keep it after this assertion at line number 4, because when I will click on the snippet, this uh, another snippet will get appended to the tests. Okay, so I will click on this response body contains. So now this is another assertion. Postman dot test body matches string. Okay, so I will say response body matches string, and what I want to match. So function pm dot expect postman response text. Okay, pm dot response text to include, it should include this value janet dot weaver. Fine. Now this check that we have just now added, it is response body contains string check. Okay, I want to add a very specific check that first name should contain Janet. Okay, here I have added this Janet.Weaver check on complete response body. Okay, wherever it can be present at the bottom, it can be present at the top. Okay, complete response is a string. Okay, string should contain this email ID. Okay, complete response should contain. But I want to specifically apply a deep assertion, a deep check related to this first name. That first name should contain Janet. Now what to do? Because let's say Janet here is coming in last name, then my test should fail, right? My code is not working fine because Janet in the database is present at first name column. Okay, but it is coming now in second name, like last name. So my test should fail, right? So there is something called as response body JSON value check. Okay, so there is another snippet, response body JSON value check. I will click on this. Fine. Now my bad, I should bring my cursor at line number 7 after this snippet. Okay, or line number 8, there can be space, so no worries. So I am talking about this response body JSON value check. I will click on this. Fine, I have clicked on this. Now what does this say? Your test name. I will change this. I will say the first name should contain Janet. Okay. Now you guys see Janet was automatically suggested because the postman is reading this response. Okay. So Janet, I'm trying to write here. Okay, automatically suggestion is coming. So postman is pretty much smart, right? Now I will say JSON data. Okay. So try to understand this. PM means postman dot test. This is my test description, and this is the function. Okay, the action that you want to perform. So where means basically some variable. JSON data will contain complete response. Okay, then postman dot response dot JSON. Okay, so basically this is getting the complete response that is returned from the server, and it is present in your postman. It is storing this response data in the JSON data. Fine. Next, I want to apply the check. So pm dot expect, what we should expect, that JSON data dot value. Now what is value? Value means this complete thing. Okay, so what I will do, I will just say JSON data dot. Okay, now I will say JSON data dot. Now step by step we can navigate through the JSON. So I will say JSON data dot data dot, I will say first name. Fine. JSON data dot first name should be equal to Janet. Fine. So this is the assertion that we want to apply. Fine. So I will save this now quickly. Okay, just see this, guys. Okay, the first name should contain Janet. Okay, from where did I got this complete snippet? This snippet came when I clicked on this. Okay, let me show you. Okay, so you guys can see this now. So when I sorry, there's some scroll issue. Just give me 1 minute. So I am talking about this response body JSON value check. Okay, this snippet, when you click on this, it will paste this thing here in the test tab. Okay, so you need to add the assertions and checks in the test tab, then press the save button when you are done with editing all the tests. So our test, there are three test cases written here. Okay, one is this, that the response of the API should be 200. Okay, so this value will be checked. Then my complete response should contain janet.weaver @reqres.in. Okay, so in this complete response, this will be searched. Okay, then I want to specifically check that the first name should contain Janet. Okay, so now let's talk about running the Postman collection completely. Okay, so how to do that? It's very simple. So you need to hover on this post practice collection. Okay, three dots, hover on the three dots and just click on that three dots. Then you see this option, run collection. Okay, so whatever requests you have in this Postman collection, every request will be executed. Okay, now the manual effort that you need to put to go to every request and run that request, that is removed. Okay, so run manually is the option, okay, that you are getting here. Okay, so run manually basically means click on this button. Okay, now you can also automate this thing clicking on this button, that we will talk about later through the CLI. Okay, we will talk about that later, but for now just think about that all these requests can be executed in just by just clicking this one button. I will not do that for now. I will just execute one API call, that is get user. Okay, because I have applied the tests to this get user API. So my tests will be executed when I execute this get user request through the run practice collection option. So I have clicked on this. Let's see the tests are passing or not. So the first name should contain Janet, but expected Janet, but yeah. So guys, there is a case sensitivity here. I'll tell you. Expected capital J A N E T, but deeply found J A N E T. So basically the J here is small case. Okay, so the value that has come from the server is in small case, but I return there capital case. So actually it's a very apple to apple comparison. I can go to my test now. Okay, and I can I think, yeah. So what comes in the response? Let's see. Maybe the server is written. Okay, the server is returning actually capital J thing. Okay, so we will say equal to capital J Janet. Okay, capital J, okay, is equals to capital J Janet. Okay, so you guys saw that now the test just now failed, right? So I have made some changes in the test script. So I will save this. I will go to the collection. Okay, and I will go to the collection from here. So three dots, then run collection option. Okay, I will select only get user. You have deselect all option, select get user and run collection. Now our all tests should pass, right? So the status code is 200, response body matches string. Okay, the email value is also present. The first name should contain Janet. All these test cases passed, all the assertions passed. So guys, I think we are done with the time for today. Thank you for joining. We have spoke about all the things that we cover, that query parameters, path parameters, response assertion, and Postman collection execution. Okay, thank you. Let's connect tomorrow.